Hello, everyone. This is Aaron Yoon from iFlip Invest, and my guest today grew up around New York's financial district and knew from an early age that he wanted to be a trader. He joined a stock trading club in college, which led to what he calls a healthy obsession with the financial markets. I know I can totally relate to that. He was also a staff sergeant in the United States Air Force and a recipient of the Airman of the Year award. After leaving the Air Force, he became a broker at one of the largest Forex brokers in the world, where he won the Global Top Broker Award. So please join me in welcoming David Warner. Welcome, David. Thanks for joining us today.
I am very happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. You have quite the resume. How did you go from college stock trading club to the Air Force? Thank you for your service, by the way.
Thank you.
And winning the Global Top Broker Award. Tell us a little bit about how you got into all of this.
Yeah, actually, I knew I was going to be in this whole trading and investing from a pretty early age. As you mentioned, I grew up around it. I actually had kind of family in the business, so I knew that I was going to be in the business too. I actually followed in the footsteps of my parents. My parents were actually in the military as well.
Wow.
I went into the military, was able just to get the background and the college education. I knew the end goal was to get into this whole trading and investing. The military was just kind of the first step into it.
How did you know that you had the healthy obsession, as you put it, with the financial markets? What made you fall in love with it?
Kind of looking in, my family was kind of in it. It was more of like my brother, my mom's kind of brothers and sisters were kind of around it. And I just kind of I looked at their lifestyle, kind of the way they talked about, kind of what they were doing. And it fascinated me. And so there wasn't really honestly any real guesswork, even when I was in high school and college. I mean, I remember so many of my friends were struggling with, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I want to do. I knew what I wanted to do.
Nice.
So,
That's
yeah.
Very fortunate. I was one of the... In high school, I was one of the other ones. I was like, I have no idea. I know what my parents want me to do,
right?
But I don't know what I want to do.
Right,
and I think a lot of my friends shared that sentiment, and a lot of them actually just did what their parents wanted to do. I wasn't one of them. Tell us about your Global Top Broker Award. I believe that was with FXCM.
Yeah, FXCM. When I got out of college, I kind of pursued the education to kind of enter into this industry. And even how I even kind of landed at FXCM or landed in Forex was honestly just it's just I fell into it. When I was in college and I was trying to figure out, okay, I know I want to be in the markets, but where am I going to be? I mean, I was applying to companies that, were kind of focused in the equity markets. I was applying for companies that were in futures. I was applying for companies that, maybe were in the option space. And I was applying for companies in currencies. And it's just Forex was our FXCM, and kind of currencies just happened to be the kind of first job out of college where I landed. And honestly, I feel very lucky and very blessed because I've just kind of stuck with that. And I've never really, for the most part, I look at other things too, but that's always been kind of my main focus. I loved it right from the beginning. I started out kind of working on a retail trader's desk. And, this was working with people that honestly, brutally honest, the average retail person has absolutely zero idea what the hell they're doing in these in the Forex market. And just kind of over time, kind of putting my years in and gathering my experience, I started working with our licensed traders and our institutional traders. And I was working with those traders, the institutional traders and the professional traders, is where I ended up winning that Global Top Broker Award. So something I was very, very proud of. But probably the best thing about the whole experience was just kind of seeing kind of people kind of trade this at a very, very high level. And that's where I kind of picked up on what I do actually today. I look at it back at it now, and it's this lucky experience, a blessing, because honestly, it's I knew who our best kind of like, I knew who the best of the best were. Obviously, and like my goal was to kind of latch on to what I found to be kind of the best of the best that I could, and just get a better understanding of kind of, all right, how do they do it? What's their mindset? What are some of the things that I can pick up from working with these guys? The reality is that the majority of these people that are just kind of like trying it out, their strategy is like just luck and hope. They don't really have any idea what the heck they're doing. I really don't know. I don't know where they're picking up their strategies. They obviously have no real training in risk to reward, risk management, and then kind of moving over to kind of like this institutional professional desk, and it was just kind of a night and day difference between kind of how their performance, how they manage risk, the psychology. It was pretty unbelievable.
What was one of the biggest differences, like maybe the most common mistake that the average retail trader makes that the professional doesn't even consider?
Forex has this like, it has so much leverage available. And for I think a lot of just uneducated traders, they feel like, the more I can get, the better it is.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, it becomes kind of this recipe for disaster. They come in and they're looking to make a lot of money very, very quickly. And what they realize is that if they don't really have a real strategy, the market's going to let you know you don't know what you're doing very, very quickly. So I think that from kind of like the retail side of this, the biggest thing that I saw is just like, it's no real strategy, using entirely too much leverage, no real plans. Like they'll get into a trade, no real plans on like whether what they're going to do if it goes right, what they're going to do if it goes wrong. And you kind of move over to these people that are kind of looking at it through a different lens, and they got their risk management in check, they're managing leverage the right way, they have kind of they got they get into a trade, they already have kind of the whole plan of like, if I'm profitable, here's where I'm going to start taking profit. If I'm losing, here's my stop, my cutoff. And it's risk management is probably one of the biggest differences,
right,
between the two desks.
Yeah, it's like giving a beginner, like a child who hasn't learned to drive yet, the fastest car there is.
Exactly. It'd be like learning how to drive in a Ferrari.
Yeah, and that's
way to put it.
There's a reason we don't do that. Let's just put it.
Exactly.
There's a reason we don't do that with teenagers and handing them Lamborghinis and Ferraris to start off with. So what got you into actually teaching it? Because you were doing so well as a broker with FXCM, and now you've been teaching it for years and years and years. And I know that you love it, right? We've talked about that.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's like one of these other things that I feel like, just kind of another thing I just feel like I lucked into. Like I lucked into kind of this, like getting into currencies and like being able to kind of be this kid right out of college, just like seeing all the things that people do wrong, putting the time in, putting the grind in, and then getting the opportunity to see the people that are doing it right. Once I feel like I had it kind of like figured out, I actually left the broker business completely. And I just went into this whole, okay, well, I can just kind of do this kind of like trading and investing thing. And how I even got into education is it kind of fell into my lap. I got basically approached by probably one of the largest trading and investing education schools, academies out there. And they were in need of kind of like Forex people to kind of teach their classes. And I got this invitation to kind of come in and kind of sit in classes and just kind of observe what these other educators were doing, and just to see if it was something that I would be interested in doing. And I didn't really know how far I would go into it or how deep, or just like, I really didn't know what to expect. But I was like, oh, this is kind of neat. And, I could see myself, kind of doing this, a little bit. And, I started kind of coming into the classroom, started teaching the classes, and then, kind of realized, this is actually a lot of fun. And I really, really enjoy doing this. And it's something that to be honest, like I feel like it, by helping other people, it's actually improving, my training and my
Mm.
psychology and everything at the same time. So, I enjoy it, and I'm going to keep doing it.
I'm grateful too. I mean, obviously, for those of you that don't know, David's strategy, which we'll get into in just a moment, is the one that I use. David was my main and probably one of my first and definitely my primary trading teacher. So this is coming, straight from the horse's mouth, if you will.
Thanks, buddy.
So, but you mentioned though, one thing that's interesting is that at the time they needed Forex,
Yeah,
and at the time this was like before social media and YouTube and all that kind of stuff. And
yeah,
I
it
know
was.
right, and I know
Yeah,
back then Forex wasn't nearly as popular
no,
in America as it
yeah.
is today. So tell us a little bit about what it was like back then and versus what it's like today.
It's wild. Especially with me when I got started in this, and I would tell people that I'm in this whole, like, I'm in Forex, I do foreign exchange, and people's just like, what? I have no idea what that is. To be honest, like, even with an education and, like, is taking classes in finance and economics, these business classes, and I just, going out of college and then going into the job market, and even coming across, like, oh, here's this like job in Forex. And I'm like, I had no idea even really what it was. And I just got out of school to kind of try to get an education to get into this type of business. And I think it's becoming more popular through the years. More people, as the internet and social media and everything and YouTube kind of came online, it's made it more popular. But it's not as popular here in the United States as it is outside of the United States. What I had found when kind of working in this industry is that I was working with more people outside of the United States than I was actually working with people inside of the United States.
Mm.
It's just not, it hasn't been as popular here. It's growing more in popularity. I think even like, the cryptocurrency markets actually helped foreign exchange to kind of
Mhm.
become more on the map, because it was just like, sometimes when I try to explain what I do to other people, I'm like, oh, it's just like cryptos, like the value of Bitcoin's up and down. I do the same thing, but with the dollar.
Right. Of all
Yeah.
the different asset classes, I think crypto has the most in common with
Yeah,
the
it
Forex
does. I
market.
feel, yeah, myself believe that as well.
What are some of the advantages in Forex that makes it really popular these days, as opposed to things like futures and options and stocks in general?
Being in it for so long and being around, I've been under the opinion that when someone's looking to kind of get started in this whole kind of financial markets world, I'm under the opinion that currencies, Forex is like the best place to start.
Yeah,
And one of the reasons why I really believe that is that it has such a low barrier to entry. Where,
right.
like, people can start with very, very little money. You can start with very, very little money in the stock market as well, but you don't really have as much of a chance to kind of, I think you can grow it faster in currencies if you can understand the leverage a little bit better and kind of use it the right way. But I always felt that Forex is, because of the leverage, it can be super, super conservative, like very, very low risk if you know how to manage it the right way. And this could be the most lucrative market in the world for anybody that actually has that appetite for risk. But, it's just a matter of kind of how you want to do it. But I mean, when you're, you know, currency trading is a little bit different because it's kind of like big picture, it's macroeconomic, kind of how these currencies move. they typically, they can trend for very, very long times. And, in today's environment and the world we live in today, with like everything is dominated by, you know, uh, headlines on inflation, and, interest rates are going up and things like that. All of this stuff is, you can turn all of this into a currency trade if you kind of know how to, look at it the right way. But um, I mean, it's just like I said, it can be conservative, it can be lucrative. You can start with very low amounts of money. You can do this 24 hours a day, 5.5 days a week. Like Saturday's the only day that Forex is closed. Um, I feel it's like kind of like this ultimate, like it's the ultimate, like good news, bad news market. It reacts very, very quickly to things like that. Risk on, risk off. Honestly, I could go on forever.
One of the things that I really appreciate that you taught me is how to interpret what the sentiment is on the news,
Yeah.
how to translate that into the direction the market moves. The more common thing that we see on the internet is don't trade the news. Right? We see that way more, like, oh, the news doesn't matter. The news is lies. But you are one of the few traders that I know that has a different take, right? And you actually are really big on fundamentals
Yeah, big time.
and some news headlines as well.
Sure.
Tell us how you're able to use it to your advantage, whereas everyone else is saying stay away from it.
A lot of people, I think, that stay away from it, I think they're they're the pure chartist, like just technicals only. They just can get lost on a screen of candlesticks. And really, honestly, I think like when it's like kind of looking at the news, it's just like a general idea. It's like, I just want to get a theme. Like, are people positive today, or are they negative today? Because you can turn that, people are positive, stock market's going up, and that prices of that things are going up, and people are happy. I can turn that into a currency trade. And if like stock market's dropping, and every headline on Bloomberg looks like something that's negative, you can turn that into a trade as well. Like the markets are very they react to this whole kind of like this good news, bad news type world that we live in. And then like I'll take that theme, whatever I think that it is, and then I'll go into a chart and try to like pull up and look at the technicals. But I always want to get an idea of kind of what's going on, and kind of like the stuff that we're looking at, especially with something like currencies. It's like, I don't know if I so much call it news as more of like economic events. It could be
Right.
like, central bank is raising interest rates, or is that
Right.
news, or is that like what I mean? I don't really look
Right.
at it as that.
Mhm.
The valuation of these currencies are driven typically by two, three things. It's like the strength of the economy, and then like what's the path of the interest rates. And so if I can get an idea of, okay, here's these things coming in that are telling me about the strength of the economy, and if the things that are coming in are saying that the economy isn't great, you can maybe be able to turn that into, if the economy's not great, the currency's not great. If the economy is great, the currency is great. And so I'm looking for clues on that.
Tell us a
Yes.
little bit about what your program is, and your system, your style of trading, and what are we going to be covering in Dallas?
I'm looking forward to it, by the way. Yeah, it's going to be
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah, so I want to kind of introduce, a little bit on my trading strategy, just kind of the way to look at the market. Honestly, I feel like it's I think it's a simple system, to pick up on. And, I just want to kind of show that, and then kind of tie that to the fundamentals of what's going on in the world right now.
Mhm.
And when I can, kind of pull it up and present it and show you, okay, this is like, the United States has been raising interest rates, and, this is what it looks like, on a chart. And just to kind of show you that, we can sit here and we can kind of look at interest rates going up. We can see things getting more expensive around us, inflation. And every time you go to a grocery store, every time you buy something, things are getting more expensive. And just kind of show you what that looks like on a price chart. So introduction to the system, conversation about fundamentals and how to turn fundamentals into a possible trade setup.
Yeah.
A bit of
And
both.
yeah, and for everybody watching, again, I'm a product of the product, so to speak, and I can tell you with absolute certainty, it is definitely the most balanced and simplest trading system and plan that I've ever encountered, and I've encountered a lot. I'm almost embarrassed to say how many systems that I've researched and tried and bought, and we don't have to get into all that. But this is definitely, it's the first one. I should have just stuck with the first one. Right. It's one of those. It's the first one I ever encountered, and the definitely the most balanced, simplest, and complete. So if that's the kind of thing that you're looking for, you definitely want to join us in Dallas, October 20th to 21st with David Warner and his Forex training. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate it.